Being 4:32, I'll officially call the meeting to order since I can see we have a full quorum here. And the first item on the agenda is public input. The only person that's new with us, don't see him now, but who is behind the telephone? 508-824.
That's Lauren's phone that she also uses to record.
Okay, not a problem. Well, nobody from the public wants to speak, so we'll move right into number 3 on your agenda. I'll entertain a motion for the approval of the February 25th Personnel Committee minutes.
So moved.
Is there
Second.
any discussion, questions, comments?
A procedural question, Mr. Chairman,
Sure.
and it's not a reflection on the two persons that I'm going to mention. I won't mention them by name, but in the minutes, it notes 2 motions that were seconded by non-members of the Personnel Committee. Is that an appropriate procedure for any committee, that any member of the board can make motions at any committee members?
Typically it would be seconded by the official committee members.
Okay.
That's just my opinion. I suppose we could get a legal input on that.
Mr. Chairman, why wouldn't it be acceptable? Why wouldn't it be acceptable? It's the board that's accepting these minutes, not the personnel committee.
Oh, in terms of what's in the minutes, Juan, did you mean to say that the second to a motion was made by someone other than a committee member? Is that your comment?
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's a mistake. I think it should be a member of the committee who would make the second. In terms of now approving it, could be any member.
That's correct.
Well, I'll second your motion.
Okay, it's seconded now. Any further conversation, comments? All those in favor, raise your hand. I think I can check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
Aye.
6, 7, 8, and Gina says aye. Done. Next item is the minutes of the Finance Committee of February 25th. Entertain a motion to approve.
Alan, there's a correction on that.
You have,
In the list of attendees, Juan was not present, and Gina's name should be up there at the very top.
okay, let's see.
This is the Finance Committee meeting?
Yes.
Yeah, the finance, her name is there.
My name
Okay,
is,
I'm sorry, I ended up in the regular board meeting, sorry.
Okay, so Gina's there. All right, any other comments or questions? That's a 2-page.
Alan,
Yes,
and down in 2, my last name is misspelled.
Oh,
oh, gotcha. Well, they gave you an A.
I know.
Okay. See, Lauren could take the A out of his name.
Got it.
got an A for effort.
Again, all those in favor, raise your hands.
Aye.
And I see everybody. Excellent. Thank you. And finally, now, the Thursday, February 25th minutes of the board.
And Alan, that is where the correction appears.
Okay,
Yeah, I was late to the meeting, but I was there, and I show up as either being at the meeting or not at the meeting. But what also
it says you joined at 4:24.
24, which is actually before the meeting started. If you look at the meeting was called to order at 4:32. I think I came late, so
Maybe it's 5:24.
I don't recall when I showed up, but I don't think I
Well, in
was
any
that late.
event, Gina's name has to be put among the attendees.
Okay, Lauren, you got that?
Yes, I think so.
Okay, add Gina McDonald to the attendees up top. And I guess you could pick a time when Juan Mariscal joined the meeting, which didn't start till 4:30.
I know I wasn't an hour late, but I was late.
Okay, maybe we just take that. Well, actually, you did come. You
Right.
did come. I don't know. We'll have to figure out what to do with that. Any other comments or questions about anything in the minutes? Hearing none. Again, all those in favor, raise your hand or say aye, as Gina.
Aye.
She did, and I count all the other hands. Excellent, thank you. Next item on the agenda is Executive Director's Report.
Okay, so sticking with the goals that we've been talking about on the Executive Director's Report, I've kept them the same. With respect to the pipeline project, phase 1 is scheduled to start April 5th. CB Utilities will be working with 2 crews, tentatively scheduled on start on Pawtucket Avenue and another on Elder Avenue. We've had conversations with the Village Green folks, and we've been doing some test pits on some alignment issues, but things are moving well. And as you know, we had a joint press release with East Providence on that project. With respect to phase 2, following the presentation to the City Council, Beta's gone back and taken a look at their initial proposal. They requesting an addendum for the engineering design work, since it was several years ago when they first put that together. Beta also provided a technical memorandum in response to the City Council meeting. One of the councilmen had raised an issue requesting whether Beta could look at an alternative route rather than going past the high school on Pawtucket Avenue.
Did they have any response yet?
They have not. I have forwarded that to the mayor and his staff. It adds $3 million to the project. I know the mayor did forward that to the council members, and he has tentatively requested that Bristol County and Beta present that to City Council at the April 6th meeting. So we may be going before them again.
So let me ask a question about why they wanted to change the route, number 1, and number 2, if that is a more expensive alternative, are they willing to pick up the cost?
Well, right. So going in front of the high school, I mean, there's really not going to be any disruption because the plan will be similar to phase 1. We're going by an elementary school. The work would be done either in the evening or during the summer season when the school is not in session. So that's the plan anyhow.
So what was the logic in making that request?
Project. Well, they didn't know the cost, and when you look at it just at plan view, it doesn't look like it's that much farther distance, but when they actually analyze it, it's actually twice the amount of length, which added that much cost. It's basically a additional pipeline and construction cost for $3 million.
What was the city perhaps concerned about the pipeline going in front of, or the work being done in front of the high school at the same time they're doing work at the high school, or traffic from the high school?
Yeah.
I think more of the traffic in the high school, because the high school should be open for business this coming fall.
Okay.
So if that's the case, if we're going back before them, it would be my hope that we can at least get them to vote on the route. So then that's a dead issue.
I wonder, now you've been talking to the mayor.
Yes.
I'm wondering if, we as a board, all of us deal with the issues that come up regarding the contracts. I wonder if they want to have a subcommittee or if they're prepared to meet with us to deal with these kinds of things when they arise. I mean, I want to encourage them to join with us, and what's the best way to get them to work. Otherwise, we're going to end up being 60 days out of phase by the time something comes in front of us and then goes in front of them and then comes back to us. And, I think to keep things moving, we want to be able to come together and get it done.
Yeah.
From whatever approvals are necessary, whatever inputs are necessary from the board, I want to make sure we're not standing in your way or in the contractor's way of moving forward on this.
Right. Yeah, I mean, if we get to that point, we will have some type of agreement with respect to that, Alan. So we're not constantly going back before city council for approvals. Any other questions on that?
I have a question, Steve. As you just discussed there about the moving forward, is there any outline of what the agreement will be between East Providence and BCWA? Does anybody started working on that would say these are the contract obligations and so on?
We do have a draft interconnection agreement that we are working on with respect to the project that's the phase 1 project and the pump station on Pawtucket Avenue. We don't have a draft with respect to phase 2 as of yet.
Joe, have you sent something to them, to their attorney?
I don't think the attorneys were what we ended up with last time. I think we need to have some sort of an outline that states who's going to be responsible for what and when it takes over. And for instance, in a breakage or something down the line, who's responsible and who's going to share the costs.
Right.
We need to do that from our perspective and then turn it over to the legal world that can finalize it.
Right.
In other words, outline the business terms and then get it drafted legally.
Correct.
Yep.
You have bigger words than me, Gina.
Yeah, like I said, we do have a draft interconnection agreement that's going back and forth. And one of the issues that needs to get fleshed out also is how much water can flow between each community. And so that's something that PAR is going to be looking at in a hydraulic analysis.
I thought they were about equal.
They are,
at least 4 million gallons a day, and we probably would never take more than 3 as long as the Providence line was, because we want to keep that flowing.
Right. That's correct. But we want to ensure through an engineering analysis that we have the correct amounts put into the agreement.
Well, I think that should be top of the line, top of the list for whatever we can do to meet with them. Somehow we got to get working together with them as quickly as possible.
Oh, that's all right. I'm hearing the doorbell ringing. I'm hollering to you.
Can the board members get a copy of that technical memoranda by Beta that was forwarded to East Providence?
Sure. Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, you're moving forward on your.
Okay. So monthly billing is moving forward. The first step is setting up the lockbox. At this point, it looks like that's going to be tentatively set up for sometime in May. And the data collectors, we continue to collect information, 90% of the installed meters. We're looking for some additional locations for the data collectors. We have been having some positive conversations with a private property owner in Bristol to pick up some areas in that area where we're not getting any data. As far as Mark's position, we do have a number of resumes in. Mark, you want to speak to a little bit as far as how many you have, and we've kind of put this out for a couple more weeks, try to get a few more resumes in, but we should start interviewing, I would say, in the coming month.
Okay.
As far as the demolition of the treatment plant, Parks are still working on the specs for that, but they're doing an initial environmental assessment to determine long-term use of the property before we submit any kind of demo documents to the environmental agencies. On water purchased, we had a high year this year, 6% higher, greater than 6% higher than the prior year. It's the first year in 5 years that we saw an increase in consumption. Obviously, it should attribute to more folks being home during the pandemic and also the drier summer months. I've attached the Providence monthly usage charges and all the graphs for your use. With respect to the Kicking dam removals, we have a discussion on that. Executive session, as you know, we received a letter of objection for this project on February 25th, which was Pam's last day. Pam and Wendy Ferguson of Save the Bay developed a project fact sheet that's on our website to provide clarification on the project. And PAR Engineering is finalizing the permit applications, and currently they're on track to have those completed, and a date has been tentatively set for May to submit those to the state agencies.
Has Joe Keough heard any more
Has Joe Keough heard any more of what?
regarding the letter from the objectors?
On the Kickamulet,
Yeah,
we'll talk about that in
Executive session.
okay, all right.
The meter replacement program continues. 94% of meters have been replaced, and we anticipate that number growing as the summer months, as we go into the summer season. One of the things that Pam mentioned to me is upon her leaving was the update to the strategic plan. So that has been worked on. Basically, as you can see, I used the same format as it was before. I had updated some of the projects and some of the dates. And that's listed as an agenda item for future discussion. Reports were prepared by Mike for operations and Sue in engineering and Randy for that. I would just ask if Sue could provide a brief update on our cleaning and lining project that we have in the works in Bristol.
Okay, this project, the reason that it's able to start so early in the season is that it's a continuation of the cleaning and lining project that we awarded last year to Walsh Construction. They had completed all of the cleaning and lining that was in the original contract, but the town approached us because they are planning to repave Mount Hope Avenue in Bristol, and asked us if that was a street that we had any work that we wanted to do in, and we actually know that it is a cast iron main that is tuberculated inside. So we worked with Walsh and to add it to the contract, and in fact the board did approve the additional funds last year to do that. And so we have decided we did award the change order to Walsh. And so they are out there now. They're starting actual work next Monday. They've already been out there. You might have seen their trucks. They've already been saw cutting the road and starting to set up the bypass system. So the work will start next week. They'll be setting up the bypass probably for 3 or 4 weeks and getting it tested. Then they connect all the houses to it, and probably will do the cleaning and lining, I would say, in the maybe in May, and then that will be completed. They'll work in the opposite direction to get the people off the bypass and get the bypass taken away. So we think that project will go pretty quick. And then we will have a nice clean water main on Mount Hope Ave. And the town, again, is not requiring us to do extensive paving of the roadway because they are planning to pave it themselves. So it works out well for us in that respect. We do have two projects that we're doing, water main renewal projects, Metacom Avenue, and some other smaller streets in Bristol. Those projects have just gone out to bid today. If everything goes well, the bidding will take place in the next few weeks, and we're opening the bids a week before the next board meeting. And again, hopefully everything is straightforward and we'll be able to award those contracts at the next board meeting. So we will have plenty of work going on. In addition to the Pawtucket pipeline, we'll have work going on in Bristol County as well.
Any questions? Thank you, Sue. Yes,
I have a question.
One has, one?
I think one of the things, and I mentioned it earlier, Steve, I'd like to see the similar press release in the local papers or wherever, similar to what we did for phase 1 up in East Providence. We have to show the people some rough dates and what's going to be done with the little map, especially for Metacom Avenue, because I think it's going to be.
Yeah, we definitely are working with the Bristol DPW and the fire and the police chiefs, and have been keeping them in the loop. We did do a mailer to the people that live in the Mount Hope Avenue area. We don't like to send out the mailer too soon ahead of the project. In fact, we'd like to know who the contractor is when we send that out. But I will work on getting something in the newspaper because I think our project scope is defined enough that we can work with the newspaper. And we, at this point, we only have approximate times. So that's why we wait a little bit closer to have the contractor and know exactly when they're going to start. But yes, I will. We will get something in the newspaper and on our website as well.
Juan, you had a comment?
Yeah, along the same lines is when it would be of value when the authority sends out these flyers to the affected area in the town, that the board members in that town get a copy of the flyer as well. Because I look at this and I say, I know a bunch of people who live in this area who probably ask me, what's going on here or something like that. So
You just want to look intelligent.
exactly.
Well, that indeed is why I put it as part of my report, so that you would all see it. But I will do that at the same time as I mail it in future.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Yes, Tom.
I'm not sure where this fits in, but in the Gantt chart at the very bottom, it's listing divestiture of assets, and it has the treatment plant there. Isn't that being fixed, improved rather than divested?
That refers to the plant the next door, not the pump station. But maybe Mike can talk to that. Or
yeah, so there's two buildings on that site. One is the former treatment plant that treated the groundwater wells.
Thank you, Mike.
Any other comments?
Sue, I had one question. Have we experienced any problems or anything with the lining work that's been done previously the past year?
No, what do you mean problems? No.
I mean, any problems with the customers or anything like that?
No, no one has called to complain. No.
Well, no, if they haven't, that's a good sign. That's all I was just questioning.
Yeah.
Not that I've heard anything. I was just wondering if you've heard.
No, and obviously those are areas that prior to the project we had received some, dirty water complaints.
I see the contractor, I guess, is out cutting, get ready for the final patch on some of those.
So you'll see on Hope Street in Bristol and on Main Street in Warren, they will be, what's there is only the temporary pavement. So they will be doing some more saw cutting to square those off and putting permanent paving. And then we will be doing some mill and overlay even after that in the state roads.
I noticed that Randy's not with us, but I have a question. Maybe someone else can answer it. His comment on the upgraded phone system, Cox Communication is questioning whether we can buy off of a state bid. Is there any background, or what's the problem that Cox has? Why is that suddenly becoming an issue that's holding us up?
Want me to take this, Mike?
By all means, Joe.
Yeah, by all means.
That, Alan, is an excellent question. We've never had any problems with doing purchases off the state master price agreement. But the state is now raising an issue as to whether or not we're qualified to use the state master price agreement, which is a really sort of,
Is the state raising the issue or is Cox raising the issue?
well, Mike, I think Cox raised the issue
Yes.
initially, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Cox is the first vendor that said that they don't agree with our standing with the MPA system and did not want to provide that level of pricing.
So there's some kind of arcane issues that we're trying to work through with the state. And I actually sent an email to Mike yesterday. We're trying to get some more information from the state to sort this out. So it's still a little bit in limbo.
I would think that maybe getting a piece of legislation introduced that was vague enough that said that any municipal water system is qualified to buy using state contracted pricing might do the trick.
Well, we do it all the time for vehicles.
Right.
Yeah, I think there's some conflicting language. So we're trying to get some information from the state, some further information. So we're still working through it.
Huh. All right. Any other questions, comments? Moving right along. Financial report.
Okay. I'm going to be quick. Everybody knows it's been through the year end. I do not send out the last month of the year until we get through everything I need to prepare for the auditors. And the draft I send the auditors will go out and it'll be stamped draft when I do that. And that'll probably be in about 3 weeks time. So right now, things I'm working on, like every year we take a physical inventory of all of our parts, and I'm working with operations to reconcile that right now. I'm also working with Sue in the engineering department on going through all of our capital projects that are outstanding, work in process at the end of the year of what we're going to capitalize in FY21. And if we don't capitalize it, we'll carry it over. And why we do that, I need to get all our lot of information there to document all my accruals, then set up my fixed asset system with my official depreciation. Then I match the actual calculated to all the accruals that I brought through the year. So it's a process. Overall, we're in good shape. Everything, no surprises out there. So we're just moving through it.
This is your standard approach.
Standard approach, and we'll get there. It's a busy time. As was mentioned earlier, Steve mentioned, we've advertised for the past 3-4 weeks out there. We're in a lot of the social groups, the Indeeds, career builders. A lot of them, they trick you into a lot of things. They say, it's free, and they put you on the 500th spot for free. But if you want to be in the top of the search engines, it's like $30 a day, $40 a day for these places. So we're trying to spend our money judiciously. LinkedIn is the same way. but we're getting globally, we're getting a lot of response from around the world, like I mentioned earlier, which is crazy. The ones from India want to work remotely. So that's up to the board if they would like that. But it's a very difficult thing. We did state on the advertisement that this is not a work at home position, that it's a hands-on located in the building. And I think a lot of companies, including the engineering companies, we're talking to, they're having a hard time filling because there are a lot of people working from home that are comfortable with it. And, or if they're unemployed, they're getting the extra benefit with unemployment. And they're timid about moving to a company they're not sure about what our COVID situation is here and vaccines. So it's a little bit of an awkward time, I think we're feeling from the respondents we're getting. And a lot of people just clearly are not qualified. I'm getting like an administrative assistant from a local high school. Despite what we say we're looking for, they do the shotgun approach and just send their resumes out to anything out there. So
Understand.
hopefully, I do have a couple of resumes that we have received in confidential that are currently working, but we're reviewing that. I hope to talk to them shortly. Yeah, John.
Mark, have you heard anything in your field that municipalities and school districts are having the same problem with financial officers?
Yeah,
Seems to me, whether I'm misunderstanding, it seemed to me that like the Bristol Warren school systems had a problem with the financial officer.
Yeah,
And a couple of towns have had the same problem.
Yeah, I think people just, it's not a very good time for people to move. I think there's a comfort factor if they are working, at a good quality job, to make a transition. They're a little timid to do that. Not knowing what the situation is here or whatever. But we'll get through it. And I've told Steve, I set a date at the end of June. The worst thing we want to do is bring someone in that we don't have a warm and fuzzy feeling about can handle it. And I think, I may have a few that we're going to bring, I bring in initially, and I think Steve and I and Joe will ask them all the pertinent questions of, but, there's so many people that have been out of work for 3 or 4 years. The 1 year you can see with the COVID, but if they've been out or they've had 5 jobs, since the COVID thing came about. So
I understand.
But we'll get through it. But I'm not going to leave the authority shorthanded. But we want to make sure that we get a quality candidate. Whether I got to stay a little longer, but I'm flexible at the end what to do. So
fair enough. We appreciate that. Let's go to the board member town council reports. Any people have anything to comment on? Any of the directors?
Alan?
Yes.
I'd like to plan once this news release comes out for Metacom Avenue and the pump station, go back to the council, and hopefully my board members would go with me, and just to discuss the upcoming project for this summer. I'll say this summer. So that's going to be my goal here in the next couple of months.
Very good. George, did you have a comment or just?
No, I'm fine. Thank you.
Okay.
Bob, we could do that, once we get contractors on board, right? Is that what you're planning on doing, that once we have a contractors and know when these projects will actually start?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. That'd be my plan. But it's we need to put face in front of them again and tell them here's where we're going in Bristol.
Yeah.
It seems like it's going to be a significant effort to put everybody online in the next 6 or 8 months. So I think it's important that everybody's here.
And like Sue said, we've had some good conversations already. with some town officials on these projects, just to give them a heads up. And as we, move closer to the actual work and we know who's going to be doing the work and when they're doing the work, I think going before the town council is a good thing, and getting the word out via the press.
Okay, thank you.
Steve, you could come with us so we could use you as show and tell.
No, I'd like to come introduce myself. That'd be great.
Next item is number 7.
So I know a project that's been hanging out there for quite some time is getting an elevator or lift that works here at the administration building. And we did receive 6 good bids, ranging in price from a low of $179,700 to $306,000. Attached to my memorandum is the bid sheet and the evaluation prepared by the engineer, Tom Simbro of Wright Pierce. So, and based on their review and our review, we are recommending a contract award be made to the lowest responsive bidder, Coletta Contracting, for their low bid price of $179,700.
Let's get a motion on the floor and then we can have questions or discussions.
So
Yes,
moved.
Juan. You move the award, the contract to Coletta Contracting.
Second.
179.7. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Gina. I have a question. I'm curious, is how, on such a mechanical project, how do you account for such a spread of 180 to over 300?
Mike, do you have any on that? I know that the numbers here are a lot less than some of the construction numbers that Bristol County had received a number of years ago on this project.
Yes.
Yeah, the earlier numbers were absurd.
Right.
Yes, and that was a very large scope, and this is obviously a much smaller scope. And the project problem with these is there's a lot of specialties involved, even with the smaller scope. So it's a lot of mobilizations of individual type specialty, whether it's a roofer, a mason, carpentry, things like that. So not everybody has that expertise in-house. So the more they can leverage in-house expertise, the less they have to subcontract. So there will be some contracting involved, but everybody allocates that type of risk differently. So I don't know if that's the exact, but on previous solicitations, that was alluded to as part of the issue.
And I think in general, I think a lot of companies are busy, and so a lot of times they just throw numbers at a project and hope
I got you.
they get it.
Well, this number, 179.7, is a lot lower than anything we were dealing with in the past. That was like over $450,000, as I recall. Absurd. Anyway, any other questions or comments? Ready to vote then? All those in favor, raise your hand. Let's see if I can see them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Aye.
And I from, it's unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if I just make a comment regarding
Yes, yes.
to all our board members, if they haven't made an attempt yet, they should make an attempt to go upstairs and see what's being accomplished upstairs in our offices, and do a credit to the authority that it's a real fine office space that's being developed up there.
Okay, number 8. This is the Pears proposal.
Yep. Number 8 is we requested of Par Engineering to provide a task order to provide engineering inspection services for our 2021 construction projects. Notably, as we just discussed about, we have a very busy construction season in Bristol. Notably, we have the Mount Hope Avenue cleaning and lining work. We're going to have the water main improvements on Metacom Avenue. The pump station project on Hope Street, and some other smaller water main jobs. And so this is for PAR to provide us with a construction inspector full-time, and also an additional part-time inspector if needed. So we will only be charged for the actual hours worked, but based on a 30-week construction season, the total of the task order comes to $180,000, $180,540. These are the same rates that PAR used for last year. And I think the number is high only because of the number of hours estimated to be potentially used.
Understand. So entertain a motion to award the task order to PAR for an
So
amount up to 180,540.
So moved.
Second.
Excellent. So that was Tom and Gina seconding. George, you had a comment?
Oh, it's just ready to vote.
Very good. Any questions, comments? Again, all those in favor, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
Aye.
7. Aye, 8, and 1, 9. Good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Addendum number 1 for Medicom water design.
Yep. So this item is task order addendum number 1 for the Medicom Ave water main project design. This is to add a pressure reducing valve to the project. It was not anticipated when the proposal was initially put together. However, we were unable to attain an easement across private property. As such, a PRV is needed to be added to this project.
Let's get a motion, and then I think there's going to be some questions
Okay.
that have to be asked about this.
$12,250 for additional engineering services for this work.
Juan, you making a motion to that effect? You're muted.
Yes.
I'll
Yes.
second.
Gina seconded. Okay. Questions about this? Juan, go ahead.
I have a basic question, and maybe I'm embarrassed to even ask this, but the numbers, all of the different dollar amounts in here, I was having a hard time trying to understand what dollars went with what project and what the total amount we're spending on phase 1 and phase 2, because you start out with in the second paragraph mentioning the first proposal. Then in the next paragraph, you talk about phase 1 and 2, and then you talk about the addition that is required. So I'm wondering if you can summarize what the total is for both phases that we're spending thus far for design and construction.
Are you sure this is the Medicom project we're talking about?
I'm sorry, never mind.
Okay. Okay. My question is, how big was this easement? I mean, if we got the easement, we wouldn't need the pressure reduction valve?
Sue?
Yes, correct. So this is it would have been a connection in northeast Bristol that would have connected some dead ends in that area and allowed the water to flow into the area where we needed to get a feed. There were no public roads going through there, so we had to ask the residents for easements. They did not want to give us those easements. So rather than, condemning or the property or whatever, we decided that engineering wise, we can also add this PRV valve, which will provide a feed of water into that neighborhood. So we chose to do that. And this request is for the engineering to add the PRV to the Medicom Ave project. It's not actually it's not actually an award of the money to construct the PRV. It's just the engineering for the PRV.
So there was no way that they would grant an easement to make that interconnection?
I talked to two different property owners, and both were very nervous about the how it would affect their property value, should they want to sell their houses. They just were not agreeable to letting us put the water main through their yard.
Okay,
They both are already customers, so there was not much that they would be gaining except better fire protection in their neighborhood, but apparently that was not something that moved them.
I'm presuming that these were the lots at the end, at the dead end of the
This
street.
was the dead end of Michael Drive, right, going
So
north.
what would happen if you backed up to the lot before the dead end and made the easement and went across?
Then we wouldn't be coming out at a public road behind. So those two lots had a public road behind them that we would be connecting to.
Okay, okay. Yes, Juan.
So you have to unmute yourself.
I'm not familiar with this, so excuse my ignorance here, but you're mentioning that you're going to put in this pressure reducing valve to maintain adequate fire flow. Typically, I guess I would say, is that people are usually concerned that the water pressure is too low, and that's the concern in for firefighting. Why is it that you have to reduce the pressure to provide adequate fire flow?
So this pressure reducing valve is going to go at the point of where our high pressure zone and our low pressure area meet. It normally will not allow water through unless there's a fire in the low pressure area. The water will go through.
That answer your question?
I think I understand a little bit better. Fine, that's good.
But
Okay, any other questions, comments? Again, let's vote. All those in favor of this addendum 1 for 12250 to Power Engineering, raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And Gina?
Aye.
9. Good, thank you.
thank you.
Item 10.
Okay, so this is a beta amendment number 1 for the phase 2 of the Pawtucket pipeline design. So when Beta initially submitted a proposal for this and a fee, it was back in the early fall of 2017. So looking over 3 years ago, and their fee for the phase 2 was approximately 1.35 million. And November 15, 2017, the board approved the contract to Beta for a total of $2 million. And that was for design services for phase 1 and 2, as well as the construction services for phase 1. The task order that was signed between for Beta for phase 2 was reduced subsequently to just a little over $1 million. And at that point, the fee reduction was due predominantly due to a change in scope, as it included the removal of costs associated with trenchless technologies, which are expensive to design. Since that time, Beta has identified a more efficient and effective route. That route's been recommended and subsequently approved by the board. And this new route does require trenchless technology design at 3 locations. So then the project and the level of effort is now better defined for them. And, it's over 3 years ago, so their rates and the consultant rates have increased since that time. So they went back and looked at all that, and they provided an amendment to their initial proposal, and that amount now is $1,556,983.50, and that's for the design only of the phase 2.
By the way, the trenchless, that means they're going to be horizontal drilling.
Horizontal drilling, right.
Right.
And then those locations, if you remember, one was at the highway.
Yeah.
Another one was at the crossing of the 10-mile river, and then another crossing at the railroad.
Gotcha. Any questions, comments? Okay, I need a motion then to
So moved.
award the Phase 2 design amendment of $1,556,983.50.
So moved.
Juan has made the motion.
Second,
Second.
Gina seconded. Further discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4. Tom, I don't see your hand. Stanley, 5, 6, 7.
aye.
Gina, aye. Tom, hand up. Good. 9. Thank you.
Thank you.
Strategic plan update.
As I mentioned in my report, the strategic plan, I guess, is updated every year.
Yes.
So I went through it with myself and staff, updated some of the projects in there and some of the dates, basically keeping the same format unless the board wants the format changed. And if there are any discussions, once approved, we will place the plan on the website, and the implementation plan, I guess, is kept for our own in-house use.
Does the board have any questions about this? I mean, we have options. We can approve it tonight, or we can say we'll discuss it in committees and come back next month and give a final approval. What's your feeling about this?
I think we should take a long look at it and give our final approval next month.
I'll second Gina's motion.
Okay, so she's ready for it. Nothing much has changed, it's just updated. Okay, again, all those in favor of it, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and Gina
Yes.
is 9, yes. And my suggestion is that we forward a copy of this, the front end part, to each town council so that the our town council members will see exactly the work that we're, what our strategic plan amounts to.
Are you thinking we do that now or we do that after we approve it next month?
After we approve it, obviously.
I'd just like to suggest that we can, any comments we have to the strategic plan, we could forward to Alan, who could combine them and then pass them into Steve as a board input.
I think they should be, okay, that's fine. You can do that way. Ready to vote then?
I have a question, Alan,
Sorry, go ahead, Tom.
and this is on, it's just a factual one. On page 4 for the the 2022 plan, construct a phase 2 30-inch transmission main. Is 30-inch the appropriate size for East Providence and BCWA? Or,
Yes.
Okay, so that is the big size, that it gets smaller.
Right,
Yes. Okay.
okay. So all those in favor? Again, raise your
Aye.
hand. It looks thorough. Excellent, thank you.
Thank you.
Kickamuit Dam removal information on the website. You provided a specific presentation, which looks pretty thorough. Question is, I guess we're going to discuss this in executive session. That's what happens later. So why don't we, unless anyone has questions about this, let's save that for the discussion in executive session. The approval of the annual write-offs. Need a motion to acknowledge the annual write-offs in the amount of $45,865.07, less the recoveries of $19,865.91.
So moved.
Second.
And it was a second. Any question? This is outstanding. 16% of 1%. That's a pretty thorough amount that's been collected. I think the cities and towns can't do better than that.
I had one question.
Sure.
And I agree. When I saw the 0.16%, I was like really amazed at that. But the question, because I see it's an acknowledgement of the write-offs. And do these write-offs get audited in any way through the normal auditing process that we have done on our books?
Joe, you're muted.
Our auditors analyze the write-offs every year. And the reason why we present these to the board is in the past, they have asked us to inform the board as to what our write-off activities and collections related to them are, so that it's transparent.
And I've signed off on these each quarter.
Okay.
So
Right. We have a pretty good history on recoveries after the write-off, and the
Yes.
recoveries are applied. It's so low. I mean, it's low because of the liens, and we have a attorney firm, going after these too. So Joe does a good job with that, making sure we squeeze every nickel we can out of the write-offs.
well, we only lost $26,000, which is not bad on 15 million sales.
I would also just like to comment that recent data is indicating that they are trending up as a result of the pandemic. So I think that you're going to see a higher amounts starting in May when I present the first quarter report for this fiscal year.
Gotcha. Okay, we ready to vote on this? Again, raise your hand if you're in favor. I see all those. And Gina,
Aye. Aye.
thank you.
Thank you. And I'd just like to reiterate, it's an outstanding collection rate. And what Alan said, compared to where I came from, they'd be extremely jealous about the collection rate here, believe me.
Okay, I guess we're going into the executive session for,
Alan,
yes.
did we skip over the engineering report with Mike? The operations report?
Oh, I guess we can go back to it if you'd like. I thought that there were no questions about it. Did you have a question?
Well, I was just wondering, I know we had a significant number of leaks and repairs. How many did we have? And I know they're all fixed and everything else, and it's been a great job, but how many did we actually end up with?
I can get the exact number, but it was a busy season. We were averaging 1 to 2 per week there for a little while. But those were a combination of services and mains. We did have, the little flurry on Metacom of those bell joints, but we also, a lot of our activity is also on service lines. The old plastic services are old and from the 70s, 80s. They are getting brittle. So we do see a lot of activity there.
How many directors have the water line insurance? Okay, I only see 3. We went through some years ago an extensive evaluation of companies that provide insurance for water line breakage between the street and your house. And we agreed on a particular company who was then advertised to our customers on our stationery, showing our approval. I just renewed my annual, and I think it's $48 a year because I'm 30 feet from the street and no trees in the way. So it's a simple thing. That covers like $5,000 in case something breaks. If you haven't looked into that, you might want to do that, and perhaps it would be time for us to contact that company and get another handout or another letter on their behalf, so that the latest people who moved into homes and such know about this and can take advantage of it. Because if it happens to you, all hell breaks loose.
I
Go
haven't
ahead.
used it in Bristol, but I have similar insurance through a different company for a property in Pawtucket that I own. And one day I went over there and there was water all over the basement. And I checked it out, called the water supply board, and they told me, oh, they came out, checked it out, and they said, it's between your house and the street. And I said, I have that insurance. Does that help me at all? And they said, they said it should pay for the whole thing. They had a crew out there the next day. They dug up my lawn. They destroyed the sidewalk, but they fixed everything within, I say, 2 days, and everything was fixed. Not a dime was I charged.
It's worth it. It's worth it if you have an older home, absolutely, an older line. So be it as it may.
Alan, just as an update, the name of the company is Safety Valve, and
Yeah.
they do from time to time send out mailers to our customer base, just advertising the fact that they are there. And if any of the board members would like a packet, I have extra here. I'll be happy to forward them out.
Yeah, it's definitely worth it in terms of insurance. Anyway,
I don't want to jinx myself, but mine is relatively new for the age of my house, and I'm only like about 10 or 15 feet from the main where it runs through my mine, so I just haven't given that an extra thought.
Okay, we're ready to enter executive session under Rhode Island General Law 5A2. And again, that's on kicking you a dam removal and on North Farm litigation 4246-5A2, and to deal with minutes of the executive session. I need a motion to do that.
So moved.
Someone respond.
I'll second it.
My sound has gone dead. Raise your hand if you've made a motion. There we go. Okay, John made a motion with his hand. I need a second.
Second.
Second by Gina. Everybody raise your hand. It's a hand vote. And everyone, Chris, raise your hand. And Gina, say yes.
Yes.
Done. Okay, we're going to go into executive session. Please turn the recording off.
I'm going to say goodnight.
Okay.
Good night, everyone.
We return to open session at 6:05. Entertain a motion to seal the minutes of the executive session.
So moved.
Juan
Second.
has, it's moved and seconded. Show of hands for that, please. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I don't see
Aye.
everyone, and Gina has said yes. I think we got it all. Any further discussion or business?
Yes, Mr.
When's our
Chairman,
next
I have
meeting
one
next
question.
month?
I have one question. Any
Yes.
guess as to when we may get back into the offices to have our meetings?
I've
I'd like
had
to
2
add-
shots.
Yeah, all the managers have had at least one shot, and I think within a week or two, we'll all have our second shot.
So we, in theory, could do that next month, right?
Possibly.
I've
My
had my
guess
2
is
shots.
Good.
we'd have to wait 2 months. Anyway,
I think we do another
we're at
month
a point now.
and see what happens.
Steve, what is our next meeting next month? What's the date?
It's a good
Our
question.
monthly meeting?
April 22nd.
Second.
April 22nd.
Right, April 22nd. Okay. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
What time is that going to be? Still at 4:30?
4:30. 4:30. We'll keep it the same.
Okay.
Yeah, I would suggest that we do one more month Zoom and then see how things go. One more
Right.
month.
Okay.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 Wonderful. Thank you all.
Have a
Appreciate
good
it.
evening, folks.
Good
Have a
night.
nice evening.
Good
Stay.
night.
Night.
Good night.